Hi, I'm Jen and I have migraine.
Hi, I am Leona. I also have migraine. I was diagnosed about 9 years ago with chronic daily headache and chronic migraine and lovely abdominal migraines to go with it. Yes.
I was, insofar as you can be lucky with migraine diagnosis, I was actually diagnosed in primary school.
Okay.
So I started having, I don't think they call them ocular migraines anymore, but visual or with no pain. In primary school, I started complaining of not being able to see the board. And my parents brought me to the optician. Everything was fine. They brought me to the GP and he said, took family history and said, oh, it's probably this. Because my mum suffered from migraine all through her early 20s for a lot of her life. So thankfully, I had kind of a family history to go on, and they sort of put two and two together and were like, oh, there you go. That's what's going on there.
Yeah.
But I get a bit less straightforward for you.
Yeah, not as straightforward for me, but be so nice if we could just get a pair of glasses.
The dream. Could you imagine?
Absolutely. No, it wasn't. I do, looking back, so in hindsight, I definitely had migraine patterns from a child as well. So a very car sick child all my life. Yeah, still car sick sometimes. The abdominal migraines, which are quite rare in kids and teens, and rare, even more rare in adults. I still suffer with abdominal migraines as well. But my mum thought I had loads of stomach bugs. Just like, you're always getting sick. But I was told I was anemic, I was this, that and the other, try different things. But it was definitely abdominal migraines back at that time. And then you get into lovely hormonal teenage years, but there was never anything serious. It was always just the odd one. So, and they were never very often. So nobody really could notice anything. So it wasn't until a year after my second child was born, and he's now 10, that I woke up one day with literally just a pain in my head. And then things just started spiraling.
Yeah.
I was sick every day. I was dry reaching all the time, getting sick, loads of different GI issues. Then the migraines would be coming every few days. And all the while still had this pain in my head.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I've reached my current treatment that pain in the head went.
Yeah.
I would still obviously get the migraines, but that pain has never... whatever that pain was, it literally just went. So weird. But so no one in my family had migraines, or they're just not letting on that they had. They don't want to be the blame. They don't want to be the cause of it. So it was an out there on your own thing. It was just, and it was because it was every day then that I was like, no,
this isn't right.
It's not right. Yeah.
As I said, I suppose in one sense, I was lucky because my mum had migraines and she knew that she had migraines. So when I started exhibiting a few migraine symptoms, like I said, they were able to kind of put two and two together with my GP.
And was your mum on different types of medications as well, or was it back then not a thing?
Back then, not so much a thing. And also she herself would say now, she was never as severe as I got to the point where I was when I was seeking. Like, I was going to try and go to my GP, to a headache clinic, to a specialist. She would have a few a year and they were very bad, but she wouldn't have been to the point where I was pre-treatment, where I was having one a week and never really pain-free.
Yeah.
But it's been very fluctuating throughout my life. So I had them as a child, had them in my teens, and then there was a blessed period sort of in my early 20s where I stopped having them as often.
Yeah. I think that was similar to me because... I don't know whether it was just what was going on in my life, but maybe it was less stressful. I don't think so, because I was working 6 days a week. Yeah. So I think it has to do with the hormone changes in the body.
Yeah.
And how that connects with our brains. I don't know.
Right.
But that was a similar experience to me. Yeah.
And the thing is, mine wouldn't typically be hormonal with menstrual cycle. I've never had that connection. But definitely, yes, something in as I'm growing, as I'm getting older, as I'm changing. As I said, this blissful period in my early 20s where I thought, oh, magic, I've grown out of them. Brilliant. Don't have to worry about them anymore. Can't wait. And then in my late 20s, they were like, no, you haven't. You, in fact, have not grown out of them.
You're just
surprise.
You're having too easy a time.
You're having too easy a time.
I think as well, when it hit me full force was a time that was challenging, having a year and a bit old baby and another child in school, and having to manage those, and then having to be constantly thinking, but I have to get back to work. Yeah. Like my whole plan was to go back to work. I had taken a redundancy in work before I had my second child. So I was already trying to explore different types of work. I'm creative, so I wanted to get into something. I didn't want to go back into my old line of work. But that just couldn't happen because I was just so sick. So my pregnancy was awful because migraineurs don't tend to have nice pregnancies. That was awful. And then we went into this mysterious pain in the head, and then all hell broke loose. So getting a job was just not something I could see myself even doing, because I would fire me. Like, you know, it's just so stressful. You to take on that job, even if it was your dream job, it would be so stressful knowing I'm not going to make it in most of this week. Like at that point, I was in bed every day. I would drop my older boy to school and hopefully get back in time so I wouldn't be sick.
Yeah.
And then it was minding the second child in between getting back into bed or staying on the couch and just being at home.
Yeah.
Which is not a life. And then you get on to hobbies and weekends.
Who are they? I don't know her.
Right? Like it's just, you just don't do it. You don't make plans with people.
No.
Like during that time, it was just like, I started off cancelling plans. I cancelled plans. I was like calling myself a last minute queen of cancelling. So, and then you have the stress of the guilt of that as well.
Yeah.
Because you're letting people down. And so not even the effects of not being able to work. It's the effects of relationships, friendships and family and not being able to do.
Of being like the always sick girl.
Yeah.
Like I had such a complex about being always sick. Like, she's always got a headache. And I was like, well, yeah, I do actually always have a headache.
And did you also feel like you needed to explain the other symptoms?
Yeah.
Just in case they didn't think that was bad enough. Like, you know.
Oh, so much, because you definitely have people being like, oh, I have a bit of a migraine today. And I'm like, respectfully,
really?
I don't think that you do. Because you're sort of, you know, happy, upright talking to me. Now, in retrospect, they could have been just like me and hiding, you know, where it was possible. I hid how sick I was from so many people because I felt so much like guilt and worry and shame about being sick all the time. Because it did feel like I was always the one bailing out last minute or not able to commit to that thing in the future because I don't know how well I'm going to be, or, I don't know if I can like commit to this weekend long thing. I'll see if I can drop in for a bit of the day, or pushing myself and being like, no, I'm going to make it work even though I don't feel well. And then suffering for like days afterwards. 4 days after. Yeah.
The overwhelming feeling that like, oh my God, I have to get to this and you have to do that. And then everything just is just on top of you. Yeah. It's just, and you can't move for 3 or 4 days afterwards. Yeah. So when you go and you get tests, when you eventually get to the stage where you've gone to different consultants because you're probably, I don't know if you were sent for other tests before you actually got to neurologist and the path, the processes you have to get to there. You're just like plodding on to the next thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just like going from one to another. But like to get to that point, you've just gone through so many symptoms. And then when they hand you a sheet and you have to tick off what you've got, and then you're ticking off every single box. Visual disturbances. Yes. And like, I can't remember words. Yeah. My brain just stops thinking of words.
That is like, the worst thing. You just, this so aphantasia, you're like looking at the spoon and you're like, I know it's a spoon. I know that. Yeah. But the word is not going to come out of my mouth. It's just not going to come.
No. And pain or numbness in your whatever side of your body. Mine was always kind of down my right arm. But all the different things. It's not just that. And obviously I had the stomach issues. You had stomach issues. All that type of stuff. Like, it's all, they list the whole things that we should be in A&E every single time.
Right.
We have one. But I would choose not to go to A&E because I just felt I have 2 kids at home. My husband's working in another country at the moment. Who's going to take care of them? So you'd suffer. And like, that was just life. Definitely. That was how your life was.
Yeah. I definitely, sometimes, like now that I'm feeling better, I have a treatment that works. I've been a bit more open with more of my friends about, look, how sick I was before I was on this. Like, you didn't know. I did a lot of hiding, but I was very sick. And they'd say things to me like, how did you keep going? And I was like, well, it kind of felt like if I stopped, I would simply never start again, because I was so sick all of the time that if I sat down and just rested every time I had a migraine, sure, I'd never do anything. No. And I couldn't live that kind of life. And I even, truthfully, I lied to myself, really, I think, about how often I was sick as well. And I really was hit in the face with it when I first went to the headache clinic. They had me, in among all the other paperwork, they had me filling out. They had a form where I had to answer a bunch of questions like, how many pain days did you have in a month? How many times did you miss social activities, miss work, this kind of thing, for this Midas scale. How many
crystal clear days do you have?
Crystal clear. Again, who is she? I don't know her. And I listed all of the things and I totted up my little score, and it said like grade 3 moderate disability. And that really shook me because I was not prepared to see that in black and white. I hadn't thought of myself as someone who was so severely disabled by them.
Yeah.
But in actual fact.
But you were.
I was.
Yeah.
Like that was just the cold fact of it. I looked through my little tracking app and I was like, no, that's accurate. Like, I'm not. And I now realize I probably was underestimating the amount of days that I was in pain because I didn't know that I had those crystal clear, like that I had no crystal clear days.
Yeah.
So that was a real moment of like, I need to actually stop pretending that I'm well and really like face that actually I'm very not well.
You're very not well.
And I need something for it.
I totally get that. And I think that was also for me, the most upsetting was my youngest child only knew me younger as being sick.
Yeah.
So like, and then obviously my older boy, he would have seen me in bed or he probably thought, how many times did she go to the toilet every day? Because it's like literally in and out of the toilet. Even if I just felt like I was going to be sick, you're just going just in case. So like they grew up knowing that.
Yeah.
That's awful. But on the positive side is when I got the treatment, find that worked, it was like, we can do all the things now. Even in the bad days, I can still manage. I can still do the things and I can pretty much, get on with the plan that we have, or, you know, you don't have to really cancel everything.
Yeah.
And they get to see me doing the things. And I think that's the other thing as well, is that how simple it is to be doing hobbies.
Yeah.
How simple it is to go and want to travel, love traveling.
Yeah.
Most of back then, you could literally know that I was probably going to be sick on the trip. Yeah. Because most days I was. And going away was just such a nightmare. The plane, by the time we got there, you're exhausted, all this type of thing, and then roll on their migraine. And then most of the time you're so pumped up on pain relief, so you're not really enjoying it anyway. So for me, getting a treatment that worked, that was just, that was life-changing.
Plus,
a different life.
The mental load of all of that prep, like trying to be always like, have I packed like 14 different kinds of painkillers to bring with me? Are they in my car? Are they in my handbag? Are they in my suitcase? Can I take them on the plane?
I know. It's neurotic.
Can I access them where I'm going? You do.
Did you feel, when you started to feel better, just that weight? Just that, like, even though starting to feel better is not, like, you're not migraine free.
Yeah, no, I'm not. And I don't know that I ever will be. And actually, even recently, the team of people that I work with and I had to sign off once or twice for a migraine. It was coming on. I knew it was coming on. And I had said to them in the day, look, we'll see how we go, but it's likely I'm going to have to sign off early.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, Jen, I don't like this for you. Like, this is terrible. And I was like, actually, this is so much better.
Yeah.
Like me having to sign off maybe once a month because I can't cope is 2020 me could not have dreamed of a scenario where once a month or maybe twice a month I'd be feeling bad.
But even it's so great to hear you say with such positivity, but it's not so bad.
Yeah, no, it's really not.
Because I get it. Yeah, it's amazing. I was up to 25 days a month migraine by the time I got to my neurologist before I got the diagnosis, because I've been asked to keep diaries and food diaries and I tried diets and I tried every alternative treatment as well as being prescribed heavy pain relief for it, which then ended up in stomach ulcers. So then like you have all that type of thing. So I had all that going on before I'd even got to the neurologist. But then that was only the start of it, the journey, because then you have to take preventative medications before you would even get into the one that worked.
Yes, the good old try and fail.
And like that's okay, because I was just so gung-ho of no, we none of this is working. I'm happy to try anything that anybody suggests to you. Like, I'll go pierce my ear. If that's going to work, I will do it and I will see will it work. I tried everything and I was and I would still try some things if I hadn't tried it before. I would still try some things. But to get that one that worked was just like, wow.
Oh,
that literally, that pain that just went, it was like that in itself was like, wow, that within a week just went. And then slowly but surely it was just like, whoa, I can do things. I can start just literally living my life now. And it's great.
And I do feel like I suppose the pathway to like get a treatment that works for you. Oh, it's a very long one. And it's so disheartening sometimes. Like I definitely had moments on that kind of journey to something that worked for me. Where I was doubting. I was like, do you even have migraine? Are you just lying to yourself and everybody else? Do you like, is it even migraine?
Or let's go down that rabbit hole of it's something else. So it's something else is causing it. So I need to go and get my neck fixed. Or I need to go and get my sinus fixed or whatever. I need to get another scan. Because you think something else has to
be my eyes, must be my nose. Maybe it's my teeth. And it's such like on the one hand I understand it, because sometimes the different things that you have to try and fail, they do work for a lot of people. But when they don't work for you, it's so hard, because most of the time you're going to have to try something for like 6 months or more before any sort of neurologist will say, cool, we can definitely say that that's not working for you. And that's such a long time when you're in pain every day.
The lovely side effects that go along with the treatments that fail. That you're trying to push through and you're trying to ignore because you're like so hopeful that this is the one that's going to work.
It's so crazy the amount of like the list of side effects that you read and you're like, probably I will get none of these, probably I will get all of these. And then you just ignore them because you're like, listen, maybe this is going to work and I will just be fine with having no appetite and having my legs tingle like they're going to fall off. Maybe that'll be fine because I just won't have any pain in my head. And it'll just be worth it.
Still can't get out of bed.
I remember thinking to myself, again, kind of when I went to the headache clinic, I've done some like patient surveys and things after the fact. And one of the things I've often brought up is I wish there was sort of linked with like headache clinics and stuff, just some sort of mental health services. To just be like, that you could talk to someone and maybe not even have to fully explain the whole deal, like that they would have some sort of a concept of migraine or neurological conditions and that you could just go and talk to some informed counsellor or something to just be like, I'm kind of a wreck.
I think as well, even the GP system, and that goes for a lot of conditions as well, but like because there's not enough awareness of what the steps are even at that level, you could eliminate some of it by the time we get to neurologists. Some GPs I'm sure will prescribe preventive drugs. I didn't have that, so it was all by the time I got to there, which when you think about it was say 4 years in by the time I got to a neurologist after investigating all different issues. And then by that time you've got stomach ulcers, you've got a gastroenterologist now. You've got loads of different consultants there, which is great because someone's dealing with the problem, but they could have been prevented. It didn't need to go down that road, you know. So if the processes I do think there's a flaw in the steps for it. And then by the time you get to the neurologist and then have to start your preventative drugs,
Yeah.
that could be 2 years.
I remember, so I love my GP. He's incredible. And I remember his disappointment
I know.
when I had to go back to him to say that one of them wasn't working because he really thought it was going to be it for me.
Yeah.
And
I love that he was disappointed.
He genuinely was.
You know, he cares about your care.
Yeah.
And he wants you to get to that step,
Yeah.
you know.
He's been huge in unlocking additional treatments for me. But one of the things I think, again, it's a mental burden thing, is that you have to be such a researcher, a little researcher and an advocate for yourself, because part of the reason I went back to my GP was, as I said, I had a kind of period of time where they weren't as bad.
Yeah.
And then they came back with a big resurgence. And I was managing, I mean, not really managing, but managing-ish with pain meds. And then I started at a point where I was like, I'm having a lot of breakthrough pain. I'm taking all of the pain meds I can, but I'm still having pain through them. We're starting to get to the point where I need to actually start exploring like a full-on, you know, daily or whatever preventative.
Yeah.
Because just treating the acute attacks, it's not working anymore. And part of the reason I went back to my GP, as I said, A, I was having that breakthrough pain, and B, I had done a lot of research and reading about what kind of things are available, and I already knew some of them. I was like, the only pathway to this is through a neurologist, is through a headache clinic, and the pathway to get to that is through my GP. So you're trying to like stack up all these little blocks for yourself, because you're like, I know I can't get some treatments from my GP. I know I need specialist care. I also know that for most of the kind of specialist headache clinics, the waiting list is like 18 months to 2 years. So I went to my GP to say, like, firstly, what can we try? But secondly, can we also now kick off the process to get me into one of these clinics, these specialist clinics? Because if I have to wait a year and a half to see a specialist, I don't want to try another 2 treatments and then get in line to see a specialist, like, because that's already going to be the year and a half, the 2 years. I don't want to, at that point, start waiting for 2 years to see someone, because I don't think I'll cope.
No. And then with the treatment that works for you now, how is that affecting your daily life now?
It's genuinely unrecognizable. I mean, the big thing for me since starting it is realizing that actually I basically was having no crystal clear days. I had, my level of pain and feeling so unwell had become so normalized that I thought that like having a level 2 or 3 pain every single day was just a normal. Yeah. I saw a TikTok a while ago and someone said, just a reminder that the normal level of pain is none. And I laughed till I cried, because I was like, oh yeah, no, that is actually like the normal level of pain is none. And you just normalize so much constant daily pain. And now I'm on a treatment that works, and I'm like, oh, this is actually like, y'all are out here waking up like this for free every day. This is this is what it's like to wake up pain free. And I think you said it earlier, just this incredible feeling of like weight lifting off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, I feel well.
Yeah. This
like
is what,
as a whole.
This is what it should feel like. Yeah. Like it is life changing. Cheesy as that is, but like,
no, it genuinely is though. My life is so changed. Like the difference pre-treatment, finding something that works, it has unlocked my ability to plan, but also my ability to be spontaneous. Like I can just be like, yeah, sure, I'm going to do that weekend. That's fine. I know that I'll probably be fine.
Don't need 14 pain meds in your bag.
You don't need to be planning to bring the little mini pharmacy.
Where's the nearest A&E when I go to Spain?
Right. And even just knowing that like I can book a course for one of the hobbies that I do, and I know that more than likely I'm going to be fine that weekend.
Yeah.
You know, like during COVID, I took up sewing.
Amazing.
Started making few little face masks.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, okay, this is cute and all, but maybe there's something a little more cheerful I could be making for myself.
Yeah.
And I think it was earlier this year. Yeah. I booked into a bag making course.
Wow.
And I know that seems silly, but like,
no,
2 years ago, I could never like.
No, I know. Yeah.
Sitting around other people making noise with sewing machines all day in a cramped environment where I couldn't control the light or the sound, where I wouldn't be in control of any of the variables, that I could never have committed to that, paid for that course and known that I just would have had a nice time and been able to make something.
Yeah.
Because in the past, it's the kind of thing I would have skipped. I would have been like, maybe someday.
But it's what you said. You started it in COVID. And then it's like, oh, but then I went on another course.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing more stuff. That's so different to what you would have been like before.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it gives me like so much freedom then to pursue, to just be like, oh, I'll just take this little thing, or I'll pursue this hobby, or I'll do whatever I'm going to do. You know, I take dance classes, I bake. I love crafty hobbies.
Yeah.
And I love being able to, again, like that, know, okay, you can go to a dance class and it's not going to feel like your head is about to fall off your shoulders every time you do a little spin.
But even exercise, which to be honest is also part of feeling well. It's like, it is a whole holistic approach. It's not just obviously we need the meds. It's not going to work without the meds and the right meds. Like, we need those, but you do have to eat well enough. You do have to get your sleep.
Yeah.
You do have to not skip meals and you do have to exercise. So we have some really cool photos here.
Yeah. Some of
trip down memory lane of pre and post probably.
Yeah.
So my first one here is me on holiday, which, as I said, was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
Pre the amazing treatment. So yeah, you can see I'm happy.
That's the first thing that strikes me about that photo is you just look really happy and carefree, you know, like you're actually able to enjoy a holiday.
And I'm like, I was cycling.
Yeah.
It's not something I would have planned to do. We were out like with the family, and that's the things that we just love doing, not particularly cycling, but just being out doing different things and organising things like that, different activities.
Yeah.
Like, you just wouldn't be able to do that.
No, not at all. This actually, speaking of holidays, I have a photo here of myself and my husband on a holiday just a couple of weeks ago. We took a boat trip, a sunset catamaran ride, the kind of thing that previously dealing with migraine, nausea, particularly the nausea, the idea that I would get on any sort of sea craft and have a nice time.
Yeah, I actually feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
Thinking about it.
I know, it just would not have been accessible to me. But again, what I like about this photo is I just look relaxed because I am relaxed, because I knew we could book that and I was going to have a fine day. I knew that I wouldn't be the case where I'd be out on the boat and an hour in
and
be
you can
like,
look at that photo and not
Yeah.
remember how unwell you were.
No, when I look at this photo, I don't think about that because I wasn't. I look at that photo and I just think about the lovely time we had, the nice memories. There's none of that guilt or sadness baked in. It's just like
positivity.
Relax.
Yeah. This is me doing what I do now, which is I'm in the recording studio. I'm a singer-songwriter. I went back and during COVID, certified as a vocal coach. So I do that part-time as well. These are all things that I would never thought I would get to that point of doing something. And working for myself obviously works well too. But this particular day, I was recording 2 vocals on 2 songs. So it was just such an intense day of like, I knew I had a lot to do. Had I been sick, not a chance.
No.
I would never have got.
Especially not like hours
to prepare
of
for it as well.
Yeah,
to prepare for it. But like, it's just something I didn't envision that I would be doing at this point in time, and releasing songs and all that good stuff. So it's so exciting.
No, that is exciting. So I got married in June last year, and I started the new treatment maybe 2 or 3 months before my wedding. And I was
so close to your wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was nervous. Because I'd had a tougher time on some of the other treatments. And I was afraid that something would go wrong leading up to the wedding. But also, I just really wanted to be able to enjoy my wedding. I just wanted to be able to have a nice time and be able to know that I could stay out late, that I could go into the day, enjoy the food that we'd picked, enjoy my time with my friends and family. And until I started the treatment that I'm on now, that wasn't available to me. I did worry how I was going to get through the wedding, feeling as unwell as, you know, we sometimes feel. But instead, like that, yes, I get to look back at these photos. You know, it's like me with my lovely bouquet of flowers and myself and my husband walking through a lovely field. Just being able to have these photos and know that like I had a great day that day. I woke up and I was fine.
But even the process coming up to it, which would have killed you before.
Oh yeah, because it's so much to manage just a wedding, even if you're not also trying to manage your chronic brain condition. That's probably one of the biggest gifts of this, has just been that I could just enjoy the run up to the wedding. I was able to just be relaxed and know that I was going to be fine. I was able to enjoy my few little pre-wedding events, my hen party and stuff like that, and know that I was going to be fine for it. Yeah. And then waking up that morning, I mean, stress and tiredness are two of my biggest triggers for a migraine. And you got to wake up so early the day of the wedding. And the one thing I didn't have to worry about was my head. I was like, I'm going to be fine. I'm actually going to be fine.
So my kids, I was saying earlier that they only, for the first few years, was like, oh, she's always sick.
Yeah.
She's always sick. So that turning point of feeling well again was after COVID. So obviously everything was starting to kick off, people starting to travel. And it was like, I was just so eager to get going because it was like, I'm well enough now.
Yeah. I think what's nice about that is, like obviously we both have photos of like events and things, but even just there you're saying like just being a mom, just actually day to day, like not even the special things, but just the normal day to day running of a life, running of a family.
I didn't feel like the best mom.
Yeah.
And it's
hard.
It's a devastating thing to say. Like I didn't feel like a good mom. And now I feel emotional about it now. I didn't feel like a good mom, and I didn't feel like I was giving my best, and I didn't feel like I was living the best life. And I just hoped that there was an end to it.
Yeah.
You know, and I hoped that we could get a treatment that would work. And only for I did persevere, and I just give myself a kick and kind of go, no, we have to plow on to the next thing. We need to keep going. We need to find there has to be a way out of this. That was the only reason why. And support. Obviously, my husband was there the entire time. He has known me both pre and post. Like he's been there. He sees it. He was the one saying, "Do we need to go to? Do you think? I think you should go to hospital."
Yeah.
Like I think, and me lying there going, "No, but the kids. I know someone has to be here for them." It's just, you know, he's been through it all and was very supportive, whereas other people didn't see that.
Yeah.
They didn't see how bad it was. But then to now go away on holidays with him too, and it'd be like, I don't have to leave the table. Like that must be really embarrassing for him and just frustrating. He's frustrated that I'm unwell, you know?
Oh yeah. We both have been on like a big journey to find a treatment that works.
Yeah.
And I understand why, I suppose, they have different restrictions in getting access to some of these new medicines. Oh, but it's very hard when you've been through the journey yourself, and especially then if you're talking to other people who have migraine and they're still starting on their journey, and you know what's ahead of them.
Yeah.
And you know that whatever you're on now, you're like, well, right now, the way things are, you, my new migraine friend, are going to have to sit through potentially 1.5 years, 2 years of things that don't work for you.
Yeah.
Before you can get access to new medications. Because again, earlier I was talking about, you know, being your own advocate and researching and stuff. There are so many new medicines that are migraine specific now. So a lot of the things that you try and fail, and some of the barriers essentially to getting access to the new migraine meds, they're medications for other things that work for some people with migraine.
Yeah.
But there's so many actual migraine specific meds for really the first time in a long time available, but it's still so hard to get them.
Yeah. And I think everybody's not aware of the new drugs that are possibly approved in other countries.
Yeah.
If you research them and bring them to the attention of your GP or consultant or whoever you are at that stage, you would hope that it is looked into. But if it's not approved here, more than likely is not going to be a chance of getting them.
Yeah.
And I think they need to come on the market. They need to be approved because the drugs are so strong as preventatives to try. And if they work amazing, you've done it. You've got to the end and that's your pathway done. That's brilliant. But if they don't, you are on a long journey to get to something that is a migraine specific treatment, but we should have more. Like there should be alternatives to that as well. And also like just because I have a treatment now, it may not be for the rest of my life, because I will be going through at the different stage in life that all women are going to go through. And during menopause, I have been told it's going to get worse before it goes away, if it does go away. And it's going to have to be looked at again. So, the thing is though, I'm not afraid of that now, because we found one that worked. Yeah. And I'm very hopeful that other medications that are migraine specific that will come on board, that we can treat with 2. Maybe we just need another one. Yeah. Maybe we need to switch. But I'm less fearful of that now. Yeah. And that's why I think we need more. And like, one size doesn't fit all. No. You might need 2 courses of treatment. Or add to your consistent treatment, like a preventative treatment. And if we still have to do that, even with migraine specific drugs, but at least it's more options. We need more. We need more options.
I think more options and just easier access to them. As I said, I know you can't necessarily be jumping straight to things.
No, you can't be just jumping straight to things. But then I think there's too long, like, what was I saying? 5 years. No, I'm only on this treatment that works, I think, 3 years this summer. I'm 9 years altogether.
Trying to find something.
That's too long. Yeah. Like, it's too long. Like, okay, if people don't know what it is, if GPs aren't sure what it is. But by the time I knew exactly what they were. Yeah. Before I had gotten to a neurologist. So getting to the right treatment is quicker for everybody. It gets people off waiting lists. It gets people not in the wrong consultant's office. Yeah. Clogging up an appointment that somebody else needs for something else. Yeah. Thanks for listening to our Innovate for Life podcast. If you found this episode interesting, please share and look out for other episodes in our Life Because of New Medicine series. Thank you.